Hi everybody, my name is Jan Dufour and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'm going to show you not a stamp project, but how possibly to DIY a replacement Stamparatus. Don't know if you're aware, but Stampin' Up! Made a business decision to drop the Stamparatus, and it has left us with a hole because I use it all the time. So I came up with two versions of how you can make your own stamp positioner. Now, of course, you can go out and buy a competitor's one because Stampin' Up! Doesn't have one anymore. It's sad to say that Stampin' Up! Was better than the other two major ones on the market for various reasons. But each of the other two major competitors they have good and bad on all of them. They're good this way, and it's a few things I didn't like about both of them. I've had both of them. I have sold both of them because I just was so in love with the Stamparatus. But anyway, so we're going to figure out how we can do this as a DIY. If you're looking at watching my post on YouTube, you can go to stampmesilly.com, which is my blog site, and it'll have the complete instructions in a project sheet that you can download and save. If you have any questions, or if you do not have a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you can email me and I would be happy to send you a catalog at jandufour@yahoo.com. And then if you want to order, actually there's not much to order here, but I do show you a few stamps. You can order directly from me on my online store at jandufour.stampinup.net. All right, we're going to make, I don't want to say my least favorite one. The first one I came up with, which is good. You need a few more things you may not have, so the other one is pretty simple. This is a Stampin' Up! Case. You're able to buy for, let's see, I think it's 4 cases for $8.50 or something like that. The first thing I did, there's 2 pegs over here that help snap the case together. They were in the way, and of course when I used this I didn't want it to snap, so I cut those off. Then you're going to need a 4 3/4 by 7-inch magnet, which will be glued down with our mono-adhesive glue. It does take a while to dry, so be prepared to not want to use this right away. Go ahead and glue that down, pushing this up into the corner as much as it will go. And then I personally would take a block, my large block, something heavy, to put on it so that it dries, and leave it be. You can work on the other side while this is drying, but on this side, this is where I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you how much cardstock or cardboard or whatever kind of backing you have from the back of, not cereal board, that's way too small, a little bit thicker. This one, I don't know what to tell you. They come with sheets when you're trying to protect 2 foils that you buy from Stampin' Up. Those 2 pieces of cardboard are thicker. But if you don't have that, it's okay. You just may have to make more layers. The point is, you have to get to the point where when you put a stamp, let's try, peel one off here. Let's try a saying. When you peel it off and position it, I use a sheet of paper on here, and I use grid paper because that way I can see whether or not, let's see if this is upside down. It is. Oh, what does this say? Happy Valentine's Day. We're a little bit late for that, but that's okay. It's just the first one I grabbed. So with graph paper, you can kind of get it situated where you want it. If you have a card that you're trying to put it in a specific place, which is one of the reasons you use a stamp positioner, you can actually put the card in here. I would just protect the magnetic plate so that it doesn't get dirty. So we'll say that that's where I want it. So on this side, I can show you, I have 2 layers of the thicker cardstock, and then I put a sheet of acrylic on top of it. Now, where did I get the acrylic? You get them in every stamp case that you buy a stamp with. when you get the photopolymer stamps, it comes with a very thin sheet on the top. Oops, very thin and crinkly. The bottom one is pretty sturdy. You're supposed to take them off there and put them right on here, and then you don't have a need for either one of those. I throw the wiggly one away, and I keep the other one for things like this. So what I've done is I put a grid paper underneath it, pasted that down, then took a piece of acrylic and laid that on there and pasted that down. And then I put 2 big blocks on it and I set it aside. You can tell if it's dry because you can see the glue over here until it's completely dry. And then it's settled. And it's ready to use. So if you have, the reason for the magnet, if you put your paper, and again, you're shoving it up into, don't let it, this kind of a rounded corner, don't let it ride up the lid, just push it to the corner. I use this to hold the card or whatever I'm stamping on in place. I put this where I want it. I think it's straight. You just press down and it will pick up just like it would when you used a Stamparatus. The interesting thing, we'll go ahead and stamp this so you can see. I will tell you, neither one of these are perfect. I feel like with the Stamparatus, you never went wrong if you followed the instructions. Even though you follow instructions, I think with this, sometimes I think you're going to get it not quite perfectly positioned, and I think it's because this is kind of round and things are a little bit movable, I think. But it does work. Now you notice the H didn't stamp. So as a good Stamparatus would, a good stamping positioning tool would, you should be able to go back and press on it and it comes out perfect. So that's one way. Now I used the poly, what am I trying to say? Photopolymer stamp set, which is the thinner one. If you'll remember, with it in most positioning tools, we'll have like a different setting for our red rubber stamps, our cling stamps, because they're thicker. But I don't have one right here. Hang on just a second. I shall return. Here's another new stamp set that we get, Zany's U. And I will take the llama because I've already used llama once. Now this is a thicker stamp than what the photopolymer are, but it still works. And I think, I'll tell you why I think it works. Let me go ahead and close that. I think because this is pliable, there's give to it. So to be honest, when I use my Stamparatus, I almost always left the foam in, even when I used the red rubber, which you weren't really supposed to do, and it worked fine for me. So I think this is because of the give. Now I'm going to do it right over Happy Valentine's Day. It's not really an appropriate stamp that goes with it because she's knitting, but that's okay. Just to show you that you can go ahead and stamp perfectly using this, I don't even know what to call it, Stamparatus or something like that. Anyway, that's one. Now let me go ahead and show you the second positioner. Takes a little bit of work to get it in position, but I think it works really well. So what you need is, again, cardstock. I can't tell you how many you're going to need strips of. I cut them at 1 inch. I'm just going to show you how I do it. First of all, use an old blade. Same thing when you're doing if you're using the other one, cutting magnets and stuff. Use an old blade. Go ahead, it'll not ruin it because it still cuts cardstock, but it'll leave fuzzies when it cuts on your regular paper. So I usually do like however number of these that I need. We'll say I only need 2. Then I go ahead and flip it over. Sorry, I hit the camera. And cut it again on this side. Make sure it's lined up square. And do that twice, and then it just comes apart. So you'll have, did I cut this side? Yeah, let me cut it one more time. And we'll get our pieces, because we're going to build something similar to what Stampin' Up had called the thingamajig, Stampamajig. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, Basically, I'm going to put this away because you don't need it anymore. Basically, what you're doing is you're building an L. Now you'll see I have lots of layers here. I'm going to show you how to make it, and then you're going to decide how many times you have to do this to get it to be the correct height, and I'll show you how you can tell if it's the correct height. So I've gone ahead, once you have the 1-inch strips, you need 5-inch pieces. I think these are bigger. You need 5 inches, and you need 7 inches. This is 7, this is 5, yes. And then you also need 6 and 6. So for example, on the first one, I would measure out 6 and 6. There's going to be a little bit extra because it's a little bit longer than 12 inches. So 6 and 6, and then the next one, I would measure 7, and the next piece would be 5 with that little edge you would clip off. So you'd end up with pieces that look like this and pieces that look like this that are the same height. So I'm just going to set these aside. I'm going to show you how to start building it. I'm not going to go through all of the layers because it will take forever, but I do want to show you how you can make it strong. And then just FYI, I had originally made this as a tool to get away from the edges of the Stamparatus. So I just put that on top. It's with the white cardstock backing that comes with our DSP. It looks a little nicer than this, but it doesn't really matter. All right, to make this, you put the 5-inch and the 7-inch together like that. Instead of worrying about it not, sticking, I'll go ahead and show you how we start to build it. We're going to put glue on a 6-inch piece. And you do have to kind of get close to the edges because you want the edges to stay stuck. Okay, so you set them up so it looks like this. And since the line is here, I want to strengthen this. Actually, I'm going to turn it so it's at a better angle for me. So you line these up, and then you put the 6-inch one on top, which means you're going over the seam that was right here. So that helps strengthen it. Now it's going to take much more than this to let it set, but I'm just going to go ahead and put the other 6-inch one down. As I was saying, you get kind of close. It can seep out, and that's okay. Now this is not making anything stronger. It's not helping the seal at all. Yeah, I cut this wrong, but that's okay. Just put it on top, make them meet at the angle, and flip this over, and I will just cut this off with my scissors. I took the longer one. I put the other ones, the correct size, away, which was not helpful. All right, so now you have another seam. This seam goes across this way. This seam goes up and down, but you're building it. Well, I had some of the right size somewhere. This one will be the right size that way. This will be the right size this way. Okay, so you're just switching between the seam going this way and the seam going this way, alternating them. I'm going to do this one as well, and it'll be the last one. And then I'll show you what height you need to get to for this to work. So we're going to put it across this way, and you will be, at the beginning, because this moves around a little bit, it does require that you kind of go back and forth with keeping it. You want the corners to be perfectly angled, and you also want the width to be in the right, not shifted over one way or the other. So I will go with, let's see, one more. Yeah, I'll do one more, and then what I would do at this point, it's not high enough, but I would stick it under something heavy and let it sit so that it's good and strong for your next layers. As you can see, you have time to wiggle it around. And whether or not the ends meet perfectly is not important. What is important is that this is a squared and a perfect right angle. And then I will put blocks on it like this to to dry with some weight on it. So that will help solidify them in the right place. While that's doing that, and of course I need to do more, but as you can see, this has quite a few layers on it. So how do you know how many layers? Because I don't know what cardstock you're using or what cardboard you're using. What you need to be able to do with this, wow, I got a stamp stuck on a stamp. Okay. What you need to be able to do is to put the corner of your stamp in the corner without it touching the paper down below. Because if you move it in this way, it's gonna smear. So you want to be able to sit high on the top and square it up both edges, and then put the stamp down and let it stamp and then remove it. You have to have that ability. The other thing you need while this is drying, remember I was talking about the acrylic pieces for the other one? These are 2 acrylic pieces. I wanted 2 because one was a little bit too flimsy. I just used tear and tape because I thought the liquid glue might be a little bit messy. And when you put this in the corner, it should not go underneath either side. And I apologize, I just noticed my ring light's in your way. You need to be able to shove it in the corner, if you will, without it going underneath. I'm going to move this over. So after this dries a little bit better, I would just continue to build it until you get to the point where you have enough height and that you can put this in the middle. Now this one, they used to say to use our ink like our Stays-On ink because it's permanent and it won't smear. It'll still come off if you use the Stays-On cleaner, and that's fine if that's the way you want to do it. I don't want to mess with that. I don't want Stays-On ink. It's just a different cleaner I would have to go to. I'm just going to use this with regular ink, being aware in my head that if I touch it, it will smear. But I'm okay with that. So I'm going to show you how this one works. So what I want to do, in this case, we're going to do, if I can get them apart again, we're going to do this 2-piece floral heart. So there's the flower piece, and then there's a leaf piece. So this is considered somewhat two-step stamping, putting one over the other. That's when the Stamparatus really came in. But you can do it as well with this. You just need to know how to do that. So I'm going to start here. I have the stamp loaded with the red heart. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to use Berry Burst. It's a returning color. It is going to be a core color, which means it's not going to go away until they refresh again. They usually do that every 5 years or so. It depends on how things have changed in the industry, but I'm making sure that this is in the corner. I'm going to ink up my stamp, and I'm stamping on this acrylic piece. Now up high and go down in the corner. Press, pull it up, and know that that's wet. Don't touch it. I'm going to move this aside, and I'm going to get the green one out. Because this is big enough, and because I am going to be very careful, I'm going to use the same sheet of acrylic. You can make as many of these as you want, and do that part however you want. But I am quite content to just use the other side because there's enough room. And again, this is up in the corner. I put it on both sides and then drop it down. Press. Okay. So now, being careful, I have the green leaves and the Berry Burst hearts. So how does that apply when it comes to wanting to put it on here? If I wanted it up in the corner, I could do that and then just go ahead and stamp it, but that's not usually how we want it done. Although, if you're worried about it not stamping correctly the first time, which I will demonstrate later, it's always good to use the corner position anyway. I'm going to say that I want the heart right here. And just for fun, I'm going to tilt it. Now, as you can see, this does not line up with this, but all you have to do is, oops, it went down too far, put it right in the corner so it's snug remove this, re-ink your pretty flowers, put it in the corner, drop it down, press, and lift. So I've got my flowers. Now I'm going to move this sideways again. I'm going to take the green leaves and I'm going to play with it until it's where I want it to be. So I'm looking at making sure, like this is very obvious. It comes down into the heart and then goes around it. This one is on the green leaf a little bit. It comes down to a point. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to take my stamp positioner, make it meet up in the corner, pull this out, get my green leaves, ink it up, put it in the corner and drop it down. And voila, you have a perfectly two-step stamped affair. Isn't that awesome? So it does work. I would say that this is about 3/8 of an inch. So when you're looking at depth, I would say, yeah, 3/8 of an inch. You can make it a little higher if you feel like you need more shove room, but it will work with 3/8 of an inch. Now let me show you what happens when you, again, I'm putting this in the corner because that's where I want it. When you try to stamp something, I'm going to purposely not put ink everywhere I want it. Oops. I should clean this off, but I'm going to demonstrate it without doing that because I just want this to go a little quickly. I want this phrase right here. Okay, so wherever I want this, oops, I lied. That's not what I wanted to do at all. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. I want this phrase to be right here. Maybe a little bit like this. And I cut off a little bit on the end, but that's okay. So I want it right here. Again, I position this, not on the card, but on this. But you know what? That's not going to work. I did that wrong. My bad. Let me clean this real quick. I think I got distracted with all of the stuff on it. Remember, this is live ink, so it's going to be messy. Turn this around, clean this off. What I forgot to say is when you position it, you have to position it. Let's move this aside. You have to position it so it's up in the corner. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't. Because that's how you get your measurement. So again, push this up to the corner, put this in the corner, bring it down. And there's your wording. Now you can go wherever you would like on this. If I want it, remember we tilted this heart and I want this straight, so it looks crooked on there, but that's all the way I want it. Snug this down. Oops. Got to put it in the corner. It got stuck on the card. That's where I want it. Okay, this time I'm gonna not ink it enough. So I can show you. The trick with it not inking enough is you cannot move this. You can re-put this in the right spot, but it's better if you can just keep it where it belongs. And that didn't come out awesome, but that's because I'm live on TV. It does work. It's a little bit thicker because I really only inked half of it the first time. But as you can see, it's in the right position. So this is another way, and if I had to pick my favorite of the two, I would probably go with this one. Although if you have a real hard time with shakes, tremors, anything like that, then using this option is probably a better option. A con of this one is you have to be careful what you put up in the corner because it's harder to press on the edges. So if you can stay, you know, about this far away, maybe a ½ inch away from it, this works awesome because you can press everywhere here. It's just when you get to the corners that you run into trouble. So again, both of them are good options. Pick one that you like, try them both. They're really easy to make. I mean, it took me maybe an hour and a half to make both of them, and that was with some trial and error to see what I was doing. So go ahead and make both of them, see which one you like. If you need an empty case, you can buy them from my store. Just click on the link and type in stamp case, and they'll come up. Like I said, I think they come 4 for, I don't know, maybe $8.50, something like that. And then metallic sheets, you can get those anywhere. The covers that go on top of the air vents that are metallic at Home Depot and Lowe's can be used. Those come 3 in a package, or you can just actually order them off of Amazon. I hope this helped you. It's my way of trying to help out the people who missed out on getting a Stamparatus. I can tell you eBay is selling them for a whole lot more than what they paid for. But they are gone, so you cannot order them from Stampin' Up. Until next time, when I will do a project, and if I need to use some kind of stamp positioner, I will use either one of these so that I'm not making you too sad. I will only use my Stamparatus when I'm doing personal work. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a comment and let me know. If you're on YouTube, again, go to my blog. There's a lot of freebies that I give away. My blog is stampmesilly.com. Email me for a catalog, jandufour@yahoo.com, or shop at my store, jandufour.stampinup.net. Thanks a lot. Bye.